And here he comes down to the basement for his annual Halloween visit. We got to play his theme music. The Chuck Jaffe is here. Is that spooky enough?
Well, the basement is the scariest place I go every Halloween season.
Don't go over by the furnace, Chuck. Or actually, we should say that differently. Come over here by the furnace, Chuck. Yeah. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm always good when we get to Halloween.
So for people who don't know what Chuck does, we're going to put in our show notes the link to Chuck's, I think, last 3 appearances now, where every year he ups the ante on a Halloween game. You can either, number one, just get some candy from the Jaffe household, or you can play Chuck's increasingly risk-like Halloween game. So what's up the Chuck Jaffe sleeve this year, my friend?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is that COVID, it used to really be trade or treat. We had gotten, it started cash or candy.
Yeah.
Then it went to trade or treat where, yes, you were up the risk scale a lot. And now because of COVID, I think we're sort of back more to cash or candy. Also because a whole bunch of people were sending me notes going, no, seriously, dude, you're sending people from your house away with nothing, or worse yet, that they've given you candy and they leave with nothing. You can't do this. This is cruel.
But we've talked about this before. The kids chose that. Like the kids chose it.
They did. This year, I've added an interesting twist.
Well, wait a minute. Actually, before you get to that, you didn't get to play the game last year, did you? Now that I think about it, or did you?
No, we did. What we did last year was we made it that there was no trading. That's why COVID ended our trading. You couldn't give me candy that you had touched, etc. And I couldn't reach into your bag to just grab it or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was no trading last year. So last year, what we did was 3 pieces of candy. That's the standard. You dress up and come to my house, 3 pieces of candy, pre-inflation, about 12.5 cents a piece. So, you know, congratulations, 37.5 cents of value for coming to my house. That's your starting point. So last year,
that, by the way, is what I've always thought a trip to the Jaffe house is kind of worth. It's about 37 cents.
There you go. That's not bad. That's probably about right. And so you could then, last year, you could trade it for $1 gift certificate from the local ice cream shop, right? Straight up, 37 cents or $1. But remember that if you were old enough, you could ride your bike to the ice cream shop. And I really wanted to support a local business struggling through the pandemic. But if you were a little bit younger, you might need your mom to take you. So you could trade it for $1. Or you could pick from envelopes that had between 50 cents or $5. Or you could pick the lottery option, which was every envelope was empty except for one with a $10 bill and one with a $20 bill. So you could play for big money, but you were probably going home with nothing. So this year, because we're still kind of in COVID protocols, I have to stay with I can't really touch anything.
And before we get to that, let's talk about last year. Last year, obviously, the layup choice was to take the $1 gift certificate, right? I mean, yes. you easily triple your money. Like, who gets it? You come to the Jaffe house, you get a 200% return. Just fantastic idea.
Yes, and that's, I think, what most people but you then have to make it that you're going to get to spend that $1. Like, yeah. It's still $1 in value. And for some of those kids, they'd rather take the chance and go, wait, I'm going to get some money if I play.
Good point.
Just for whatever. So they could do it. And I think actually last year, now that I think about it, it was 25 cents to $5. So you could actually lose just a little bit. Your value could come down to $0.25, I believe.
But still not that bad. I mean, a pretty decent risk reward scenario.
I will just point out, there's a couple of neighbors who give out whatever those micro-size things. They're not even giving out fun-size candy. I'm just, you're still doing better at my house than some of my neighbors. I've noticed that's one thing that I will tell you. If you start taking candy in trade, you may think less of your neighbors pretty quickly.
I've heard that comedian who talks about those aren't fun-size candies. Those are frustrating size.
Exactly right. So yeah, last year we wound up with kids kind of going all over. It was kind of a split. But this year, the only change we're making is that when you lose the lottery, the thing that tells you, sorry, you lost, will tell you, but if you present this to me between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'll give you $1. Come and say hello, find me, give it to me, and I'll cash it in for $1. So you have a second chance if you want to use it. Now, the kids are not going to know that. They're not going to know that in advance. But that way, I salve the guilt of I sent you home with nothing. And I give you a chance. And here's the question that I'm really going to have, which is, will they do it? Right? It's worth $1. You can find me out doing my leaves. You can find me out whatever, anytime my car is home. And part of this is actually a different thing. And this is really serious because we live in times where people don't know their neighbors. I live in a neighborhood of cul-de-sacs, but I'm like the last one standing from my generation. In other words, I'm the guy who no longer has kids who go to the bus stop and what have you. And there's only 1 or 2 of us in this entire neighborhood. Like our neighborhood is like 70 houses, right? There's only 1 or 2 of us who are in that boat. And I don't want to be the creepy old guy that the kids are afraid to talk to with the old dog who, you know,
Yeah.
I don't want to be that. So I'm much less threatening because we talk, but I love supporting the kids, whether it's lemonade stands or, oh, for God's sake, if you're selling wrapping paper for some high school or elementary school fundraiser, bring it to me. I buy wrapping paper. I never buy wrapping paper on sale at a store just because I can support my neighbor kids or whatever. Yeah. So I don't want that to stop. I want to have good relations with my neighbors. This is one way that I do it, even if it's just with the kids.
I think commercial wise too, there's some lessons here because I can't think of the number of times that I have had a mail-in rebate afterwards. Right. So I get this purchase and it is a mail-in rebate where I get X amount off and I never send it in. I mean, never send that thing in. And so I end up losing out just because I don't follow through. So the follow through piece of this, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm going to be interested to see what happens because there will be some kids who go, you know, when you're the only house in the neighborhood giving away money, pretty much everybody's going to take the money. And by the way, I should point out, I do this only for kids 3rd grade and up. Kids who are below 3rd grade, here's your candy and go, because they can't.
Sure.
While you can get them making financial decisions, and I would, if I were simply doing what I did the first year, hey, you can have this, you can have candy, or you can have an envelope that has some money in it, then I would give younger kids a choice.
Sure.
But when I'm making the choices complex so that I can write about it, because let's face it, this is worth it to me. It's like, okay, on the one hand, it's expensive for Halloween. On the other hand, it's cheap for me to go, I got an easy column out of it. So I'm perfectly happy to fund this that way. But I think that that's a big part of it. And I urge people, do this. Be the one in your neighborhood who does it. Because I can promise you, little Liam from a couple of doors down who won $20 a few years ago, he's going to remember me for the rest of his life. He may not remember my name, but he's going to remember the day that he went out trick-or-treating and managed to turn 3 pieces of candy that he would have gotten into $20.
No, he's going to remember the day, Chuck, that he got $20 from you. He turned around and put it in Shibubu coin. And now he's a bajillionaire because he was one of the first ones in.
Well, his father happens to be a financial advisor.
So he's probably not going to do that.
And the fascinating thing is, so he won 2 years ago. When he came back last year, he didn't play the lottery option. He took the safe option. And I'm like, Liam, you're ahead of the game for the rest of your trick-or-treating life.
You're betting the house's money now, Liam.
Exactly. And he's like, nope, figured I wouldn't. I thought this was brilliant. He goes, I figured I wouldn't get that lucky 2 years in a row. So I wanted to take the sure thing.
Kid's got a risk tolerance like mine.
But the kid's risk tolerance, the first time, he couldn't give me his 6 pieces of candy because that's what it cost him. He couldn't give me 6 pieces of candy fast enough. And then last year, he's like, nope, I'm Mr. Conservative. I got my money, protecting it now. And I love that. And I will point out that I put into each envelope the kids pick, I put an explanation of what your choices were, etc. And I tell the kids, don't open it in front of me. Take it home. And then when you open it, celebrate or don't celebrate it with your parents and have discussions. And that to me is the interesting thing. And I will point out, I have given away a fair amount of money. It cost me, I gave away, $60-$70 last year. I've given away hundreds of dollars in the last few years. And I've never really had, with the exception of Liam, who did what I don't want you to do. He opened it right in front of me and then was celebrating right in front of everybody, which was bad because now anybody else who might have come up would have said, wait, the jackpot's gone. I'm not playing. Yeah. My odds have just changed. So that's why one more reason, but it's also so that they have the discussions. And I hope that that's what they're doing so that they can ask their parents, what would you do? And have a discussion about money. Because the one thing I am certain of is that no kid, and I say this as a kid who loves candy, and I'm still a big kid, I'm happy that I buy a lot less candy and I have a lot less leftovers. And trust me, when they were trading candy to me, I bought almost no candy. I just kept recycling theirs.
Yeah, yeah.
But the lessons are amazing. I mean, the first year I did this, where we had a trade, I had this gaggle of girls, like 7 girls come up at one time. They have sacks of candy. They are all, the first 6 are, take the money, reach in and grab a handful of my candy. I don't care, whatever you want. And I'm like, nope, so I pull out, and I think it was the year that was just one piece of candy. And the 7th girl, she goes, I want the candy. And she reaches into my bowl and she pulls Snickers bars. And I said, interesting. All your friends played. Why are you playing for candy? She goes, Snickers bars are my favorite. They're probably on top because you pulled them from like half of my friends from probably just where we had just stopped. And she goes, I have a rule with my parents. They can't take Snickers bars. So it's the candy that I want the most.
That girl's destined to become a life insurance actuary.
Well,
True
but
story.
she got exactly what she wanted.
Sure.
So what do you want for your money, right? What would we all like to get for our money? How about if our money buys us exactly what we want? We take a choice thinking about this. How many people do you and I know who have worked their whole life to accumulate money and have a tough time spending it, right? It's tough for them to think, I can afford a more comfortable class when I'm traveling or whatever, or to get away and do whatever. This is somebody who at a very early age goes, wait, I could have made more money, or I could have gotten exactly what I wanted. Sometimes the life lesson is buy exactly what you want. If you can afford it, which she could in candy terms and whatever else, get what you want. That's its own lesson. I mean, that's part of the fun for me, is that we're teaching way beyond all of the, hey, are you taking cash? Are you taking candy?
I just wish you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, it'd be the perfect thing. Then it would be fine.
I will tell you a way that somebody else enjoys it. One of my listeners on Money Life, my show, is a guy who lives in a place where he knows he doesn't get many kids for Halloween. So what he started doing for cash or candy was he makes up a dozen envelopes. They have 50 cents and one has $5. And then he goes and he buys full-sized Almond Joy bars.
Wow.
He buys a package of full-size Almond Joys. He does this, and then when you come, he offers you a choice. You can have the big candy or you can have an envelope. He does this because A, he doesn't want much in the way of candy. B, his wife's favorite candy is Almond Joy. Right? So he is winning Halloween.
No matter what.
He wins Halloween.
He has stacked the deck.
Exactly. He gets away. And by the way, if you take the cash, statistically, he comes out better. He's bought his wife the full-size bars, which probably cost $1, but most of the kids are winning 50 cents. So congratulations.
Retains his capital.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, you know what? I'd take the envelope too, Chuck, because Almond Joys are nasty. Just absolutely. I can't do it. Most people look at me and they go, dude, how do you make 3 shows a week? You make 5 shows a week. What's coming up on Money Life? You're going to obviously be talking about this next week, I assume, right? What happened on Halloween? We will discuss the results. Absolutely. Because, I set it up at some point. And if folks want to find about it, if they go to the website for the show, moneylifeshow.com, and they look in my columns,
they'll find a column that I wrote that basically set up Halloween, because I always encourage people to try this in their own version. And the money pumpkin, which is always out at my house, is flying. That's a pretty good idea that that's the right column. So yes, I will do that. You know, my show, Joe, is totally guest driven, and we have some amazing people that we're talking to, whether it's Chris Davis, the founder of the Davis Funds, who is later on this week, or Fei Li, the director of research at Research Affiliates, and what have you. It's really, you know, let's talk to the best and brightest minds at pretty high levels. And that's the fun. I mean, I get paid to play. I wake up every day and you know, if you looked at my call list on any given day and you weren't excited to do this, then you're in the wrong business. If
right.
If you're in the money business and you don't like what I get to do every day, you know, find another profession.
It's Money Life with Chuck Jaffe. You'll hear exactly what happened this Halloween. Great talking to you, my friend. And good luck out there on, well, depending on where you guys celebrate, if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday this weekend.
Oh, we'll be celebrating on Sunday. It's on Sunday. It's classic. Yeah. And my neighborhood, the interesting thing for me, my neighborhood right now, there's a thing going on that's brought all the neighbors together. So there's been a big email chain about, oh, and let's do Halloween, whatever. And I just sent out a link to the column that said, hey, you know, cash and candy's happening at my house. I suspect that my numbers this year are going to be way up.
Oh, yeah.
I suspect that anybody who's missed my house in the past is coming. And our neighborhood is a neighborhood of all cul-de-sacs. So we already knew people were going, hey, I've got friends whose kids are coming to the neighborhood. So
yeah,
we'll see. I hope so. I'm perfectly happy to spend more money on this. It's way too much fun.
I can't wait. I'll be listening next week to find out. Money Life with Chuck Jaffe on 5 days, 5 amazing days a week. Everybody that knows anything about money is on the show. Chuck, thanks for hanging out with us, my friend.
Always a pleasure, and good luck with your book. I can't wait to talk to you I can't wait to talk with you about your book on my show.
I will wreck it for you. I will make sure. Yeah.